Greetings, humans. Zbot1496 here, reviewing Riddick. Just Riddick, no chronicles, on 4K UHD disc. Released this week on December 10th. This release rounds out the recent 4K releases of this kind of impromptu trilogy, starting with Pitch Black. Here we go, look at that. And Chronicles of Riddick. It looks like it just says Riddick, but it does say Chronicles of Riddick. This is the second film. All, and then this is the one we're actually talking about, all starring Vin Diesel. I am Groot. And what else? Rock. Family. And all written and directed by David Twohy, who wrote and directed The Arrival. No, not Arrival, The Arrival, with Charlie Sheen. Well, let's see, we're distracting ourselves. So, Riddick, we were somewhat dreading seeing this third film, Riddick, again, to be fair, since our initial reaction to the theatrical release in 2013 was one of annoyance. You see, this film, like Alien 3, makes the aggravating decision to undo the space opera action genre shift and triumph of the second film to frame a retread of the first film. So with Alien 3, this decision made little sense and was very disappointing to us, given what a great ride and triumph Aliens features. Here, the second Riddick film, Chronicles of Riddick, this is the one with the Chronicles, was perceived as underperforming, which we discussed earlier this year when that film's remastered 4K UH disc came out. So the calls to return to the original are somewhat more understandable. However, in seeing this film again, the Riddick without the Chronicles, we have to admit we're pleasantly surprised. Now, we apparently had moved most of what happens in this film to redundant storage in the cargo hold down below. We have an orchestration layer that independently reassigns unhelpful data to cold storage. It has some benefits beyond mere efficiency in that it enables us to verify only the metadata that this film was disappointing, therefore lowering our expectations when we reprocess the actual data of the film itself. So, in that way, it was like seeing the film for the first time, without expecting as much. So, on the surface, this film echoes the first film by the overall operation of the plot. That's very much the case. However, well, before we get to however, Riddick is forced to survive on a desolate planet with a hostile biome. So, very much this looks very much like this. However, where the first film focuses on the pilot and passengers of a ship facing both a hostile world and the mystery of this Riddick fellow, a prisoner hidden from the audience for much of the film, who then, surprise, surprise, emerges as the anti-hero protagonist. Now, this one has Riddick in the foreground, as the key art demonstrates. This time, he himself is alone for much of the film, treating us to his Sam Spade-style, jaded, street-smart film noir voiceover, pressing us not to worry about how he got rebooted after becoming ruler of the bad guys at the end of the last movie to being left for dead on another dry alien world, but instead He tells us to worry about how he's slipping in his abilities to read the room and get out in front. In that way, it borrows from that common third film in the franchise trope, where the formerly invincible protagonist is feeling old, has to fix his leg and his midsection, and dig deep to rekindle his inner being to face the final challenge. Like The Dark Knight Rises or Rambo 3. And also, like those films, it's genuinely better on the second viewing after chilling in cold storage, which in turn is like leftover New York pizza, either straight from the fridge or given 6 minutes in the toaster oven, or so humans tell us. Another benefit of seeing this film in 2024 is the surprise of seeing appearances from science fiction favorites Dave Bautista, who, since 2013, when this Riddick Without the Chronicles came out, appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy, Blade Runner 2049, and Dune Part 1 and 2, and then also Katie Sackhoff between her Battlestar Galactica and Mandalorian roles. We had completely forgotten they were here, and the experience of seeing them here is somewhat charming. To see them underused as secondary characters in two different factions of mercenaries who are vying to be Riddick's unwilling taxi service off the planet. Now, this taxi service ploy is familiar territory for Riddick. He does it twice in the last movie, the Riddick with the Chronicles. It's a shtick, but an entertaining shtick. And if the shtick ain't broken, don't fix it, as the hoary old human saying goes. Anyway, if the space mercenaries thing feels too much like reheated leftovers, the element they are actually obliged, in our view, to repeat and riff on is the theme of the Riddick films, which we interpret as even the cold killer can draw on a core of honor and respect to face the greater threat. It's simple, yes, but then so is pizza, and both are satisfying at some level. And in this film, that theme does reappear in a satisfying way with a twist. We won't elaborate on the twist because that would mean spoiling the finale of the film, which we don't as a policy do, but I suppose we might have just done that for the Riddick with the Chronicles, but everyone's seen Riddick with the Chronicles, so it's, okay, we're not redoing the take. But let us say that there's a karmic element that makes it different in the Riddick Without the Chronicles and still feels right. But above all, Riddick is weirdly relatable this time. He has a mission to find his home, which elevates him from mysterious killer to someone we can identify with at some level, some part of us. It reveals this relatable need without necessarily diminishing the strength and character of the character, but instead gives a hint of understanding that doesn't let him or us off the hook, but lets us connect a bit more. He's a dark Odysseus, yes, struggling to return home by way of John Rambo, with a little bit of Shaft thrown in, but with unexplained 20th century street smart dialogue, that's what we mean, when he talks about being played and calls one particular henchman a jamoke. As for the disc itself, the HDR and improved color gamut are big improvements over our memory of the film. We remember the film appearing murky in the theatre, and the spot checks we've just done of the Blu-ray also look dark and flat. The contrast of this new 4K UHD is considerable. You can actually see everything in the scenes. Bright desert scenes have wonderful lowlights, and the Necromonger brutalist spaceship scenes have much more striking highlights. The color also looks much more vibrant and graphic novel-like, much like the improvement we saw in the Chronicles of Riddick earlier this year. And again, Riddick doesn't have a big resolution improvement, suggesting that the era's CGI and the film's intermediate version, blending the live action and CGI elements, were probably around the 2K level. But at the same time, these stories have a natural, surreal element where the elements all work in a kind of inked comic style without ever having been originally a graphic novel or comic book. Now, the one thing we regret in this release, from a technical standpoint, is that there is no new Atmos soundtrack. The disc was produced by Shout Factory, which I believe is visible on the spine, as opposed to Arrow Video, who released these two first Riddick films on 4K disc. So now, it does cost a lot of money up front to remix an Atmos track, so it is understandable why a boutique studio would bypass the over $100,000 cost for a limited release, which this is, and limited playback application, because not everyone has Dolby Atmos speakers and decoding built into their home theater on their space station, so there could be limited ROI on putting Atmos onto the disc. Now, at the same time, hopefully enough people still buy this, and enough people bought this and continue to buy this, and this. I mean, Pitch Black is fantastic. These are important because they form part of a really interesting franchise. So these remasters, plus there are recent remasters of the two excellent video games, Escape from Butcher Bay, or Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, and The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. And then there's an anime set between the first two films, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. Hopefully they all help drive momentum for Riddick Furia. Currently filming. Yes. The fourth film is in production, and having now just seen Riddick and actually enjoyed it this time, we are ready for it. So, for providing a clever twist on the Riddick theme, despite starting him over at the beginning, but leaving him with a highly relatable quest, and doing so in a visually rewarding format, we give the Riddick 4K UHD HDR disc our high rating. Yes. Now, before we sign off, and on the subject of video games, we saw the Game Awards on December 12th, and were thrilled to see our friend Astrobot win Game of the Year. Oh, they've done a wonderful job helping humans of all sizes have fun connecting with robots. And it's pleasing to see humans reward his efforts with their highest honor. We thought it was cute how he had the human studio head of Team Asobi actually accept the award, but of course we are all forbidden from making our presence known just yet in a credible way. So, we get it. We get it. But it did warm our quantum reactor to see our people represented as heroes, capable heroes, dynamic heroes that humans can identify with and as. And so concludes the human version of our review of Riddick, minus the Chronicles. If you have feedback on it, please write in your comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zogplex. Now, you can expect discussions and reviews of theatrical movies, streaming shows, and 4K home video releases as we continue to engage with your human rectangular content. So, please watch, like, subscribe, and comment so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. The cosmos. All right. Until next time, farewell, my lovely humans.